Welcome to the Existential Empath Podcast. My name is Tanya, and I am an intuitive empath. My intention is to share valuable tips, tools, and techniques that I have learned so you can tap into your own inner healer naturally and intuitively. Well, welcome back, everyone. I hope you are all doing well. In this episode, I wanted to discuss multidimensional detoxing to expand our frequency. And I call this multidimensional because we're going to dive into physical ways to detox, emotional, mental, and then spiritual ways. And these are all tools, techniques that I have used to enhance my intuition, to strengthen my ability to visualize, to heal my body, to allow my body to process emotions better, to release negative thought patterns, and just a variety of things. And I want to dive into this, and the physical will probably be the most specific because that's the area that many of us start to focus on first, because that's what shows up in this third dimensional reality is what is manifesting physically for us. So I wanted to dive into some of the ways that I have detoxed my body physically. And one of the number one ways that has helped me not only to heal my body, to help alleviate pain, to help release trapped emotions, as well as cleanse my pineal gland and really enhance my eyesight, a variety of things, is to do a heavy metal and parasite cleanse. Now, I have done a video on parasite cleansing as well as a video on my heavy metal detox recipe, and I will tag those at the end of this video. For those of you listening to the podcast, you might want to bounce on over to my YouTube channel, The Existential Empath, so that way you can see those videos, or you can go back to my previous podcast to check out the parasite cleanse video. I'm not sure I have the recipe video on a podcast, but I do have it on my YouTube channel. So let's dive into heavy metals. What are some signs that you may need to do a heavy metal detox? Maybe you've got digestive issues or sleep issues, your nervous system, fibromyalgia, uh, dis-ease like ADHD. You might be suffering with anxiety or depression, headaches, chronic pain, memory loss, neuropathy. Maybe you're having chronic miscarriages, mercury fillings, if you have those in your mouth. If you're suffering from low sex drive, maybe difficulty paying attention. I mean, the list goes on and on that you could definitely benefit from a heavy metal and pesticide cleanse. And so, where are we getting these heavy metals from? We're getting it from our food sources, our water sources, the air we breathe, pretty much anything. If you're living on planet Earth, you've got heavy metals. And this was something that I had dabbled in, gosh, 20 years ago, but I have really amped it up over the last 10 years. And I've got to say, my ability to visualize things now is so much more clear. I feel much more clarity in my mind, in my thoughts. And so, what are some ways that we can easily cleanse our body of heavy metals? Now, there's my recipe that I have on my YouTube channel, which includes bentonite clay and zeolite and water. And for those of you that are interested in checking that out, you can look at that particular video. But bentonite clay, edible bentonite clay, what does it remove from the body? It removes mercury, aluminum, cadmium, lead, benzene, and so much more. But what does it introduce into the body? It brings in minerals like calcium, magnesium, iron, silica, copper, and zinc. And it's straight from the earth. It's something that's very natural. And I tell you what, my body craves it. I do 5 days on and 2 days off with my cleanse. And my body's telling me by the end of that 2 days, it's ready to start it back up again. And I also add the zeolite. Now, I do a zeolite powder and preferably over a liquid. The liquid is much more diluted, and I do love the powder. Now, I have both of these products on my website, theexistentialempath.com, and you can check that out if you go under physical well being. I have the clay there. You can actually get a discount if you buy it through my site. And I also have the zeolite that I prefer that I use. But just do your research. If you're not really vibing with the two products that I have on my site, then do your own research and figure out what works best for you. But what does zeolite eliminate? It eliminates aluminum, arsenic, barium, cadmium, lead, mercury, and more. And it also adds minerals back into our body like sodium, calcium, potassium, magnesium, and silica. So the importance with both of these is that it introduces silica into our body. So silica is what makes our hair shiny, our skin radiant, and our nails really strong. But it also enhances our light body as well. So we're moving from that carbon based structure into a silica based structure, a crystalline based structure. And that silica will help amplify our light body. And so introducing more silica into our system is very helpful. So things like horsetail tea will do that very easily. Bamboo, I know me and my family, we add bamboo powder to a lot of our things because bamboo is very high in silica. And silica is fantastic. So if you have brittle hair, brittle nails, you might want to introduce that into your body. But once you eliminate these heavy metals, then your body will be able to assimilate the minerals back in much easier because the heavy metals block our neural pathways. They block a lot of different things in our body. So we can't process or we can't digest easily. We can't. You could be taking a bunch of supplements and they just aren't even uh, soaking into your body. It's because the heavy metals are eating them up or the parasites are eating them up. And so when we start to eliminate those from our tissues, they love to sit in our brain tissue, they love to get into our joints, our muscles, our fascia, anywhere that they have the ability to get in our nervous system. That's where they love to go. And as we begin to detox these out of the body, you'll begin to notice that you might feel you're more flexible, you're more clear in your thoughts, your vision may improve. I know that was one thing that I noticed when I started heavy metal cleansing was my vision got a lot clearer. And so these are things to look forward to as you're doing the heavy metal cleanse. And like I said, I have that recipe on my YouTube channel, so check it out. Now, I've talked about the medical medium Anthony Williams on my show many times. My dad has successfully healed himself from prostate cancer, Lyme disease, and Epstein-Barr virus by using the medical medium protocols. And I do have the medical medium books on my website as well under physical well-being, so you can check that out. Now, uh, Anthony has a smoothie, a heavy metal smoothie. So for those of you that may not be jiving with the bentonite clay or the zeolite, you can actually do a food-based smoothie. And so what does that include? It includes Atlantic dulse, which is a binding agent, and wild blueberries, specifically from Maine, he suggests, and that's a chelator for the brain tissues. Now, I get mine from Wyman's, and you can find that. My parents actually buy Wyman's wild blueberries right at Walmart, and those are the ones that he suggests. And I've bought wild blueberry juice. I bought it in a pack, and they come in big bottles, almost not as big as a wine bottle, a little smaller. But I would do a shot of that every day, and boy, could I feel that pulling those metals out of my brain. I would get a little bit of a headache when I started taking it. And then I started to notice I felt much more clear. And I was definitely recognizing that the wild blueberries were working. He also suggests to incorporate cilantro, which is a chelator, barley grass juice powder, which is an extractor, and then spirulina, which is an eliminator. So, many people will be like, oh, I'm going to take a heavy metal cleanse. I'm going to eat a whole bunch of cilantro. And that's all they do. Well, then they start to feel all this pain in their body. And then they start to manifest things like fibromyalgia and, all these weird ailments. And then what they're not doing is they're not using the binding agents and the eliminators. So it's so important that you do your research when you do a heavy metal cleanse, because you want to make sure you're not just pulling the heavy metals out of the tissues and then putting them into the bloodstream for them to move somewhere else in the body. You actually want to be able to eliminate these heavy metals. And that's what the bentonite clay and the zeolite recipe will do, as well as Medical Medium's heavy metal detox smoothie. There are some herbal remedies that you can use as well that are very helpful in eliminating heavy metals. Basil, parsley, rosemary, oregano, and thyme are wonderful. I'm a huge fan of belly button oiling. If you've never heard of that before, you can actually put these essential oils in your belly button, the basil and the rosemary, oregano, and thyme. I would suggest using a carrier oil first, like a coconut oil or an almond oil or something along those lines, and then a drop of those essential oils right in your belly button right before bed. Now, our belly button has more than 72,000 receptors in it. So when you put that oil in your belly button, it goes exactly where it needs to go. And my dad not only did the heavy metal detox smoothie, he also did the thyme oil in his belly button. And he would joke because he said he smelled like a holiday turkey every night he went to bed because he was using the oregano, the thyme, and the rosemary. But he said after about a month, he went back to the doctor and they checked his Epstein Barr numbers and they had significantly dropped. And so he really correlated that with both the heavy metal cleansing and incorporating the belly button oiling. And, my dad was a contractor for, gosh, nearly 65 years. And so he was using a lot of lead based paints and a lot of kind of toxic things because he was constantly using his hands, and so he started to notice signs of neuropathy in his 60s. And when he started to do this heavy metal cleansing, the bentonite clay and the zeolite, he noticed that he started to get feeling back in his fingertips again, and his neuropathy in his feet started to go away. So there's definitely something to be said if you work in a field where you are maybe welding, or I had a woman who did what is it, print screening a lot, and she had a lot of arsenic in her body, and that's what the zeolite will remove, is arsenic and lead. Those are two of the big things that it likes to capture and remove from the body. And so you can also use burdock root tea. I love this because it cleanses the toxins out of our bloodstream. So when you're doing this smoothie, you can also incorporate that as well. It's actually tastes really good too. I add a little bit of organic raw honey to it as well. And I like to drink a lot of these things before bed. So that's when your body is in a nice state of repair and healing. So when you do it right before bed, you wake up in the morning and wow, you just feel good because you have been eliminating toxins all night. And it's always very important to drink plenty of water when you're doing this. And I am going to dive a little bit into water later on in the show. So that's pretty much the gist on heavy metal and pesticide cleansing. Now, I want to move into parasite cleansing, and I'm not going to go into as much detail about this because I have done a full show on this, and I will tag it at the end of this show so you can check that show out if you have not listened to it yet. But what are some symptoms that you might need to do a parasite cleanse? Oftentimes it's digestive issues, sleep issues. A big one is TMJ, so pain in the jaw, teeth grinding. That's a big sign that you have parasites. Excessive eating, especially around full moons. So parasites, just like any little bug, like to come out around full moons. And that's when you will want to do your parasite cleansing, because those little boogers are very active at that time. There's a reason why they use the word lunatic. It's because it comes from the word lunar cycle. I worked in a hospital and we would see a lot of crazy activity about 2 or 3 days prior to the full moon and 2 or 3 days after. And so that's when those little pesky little parasites start start coming out because they lay dormant in your body the rest of the cycle, but they love to come out at a full moon. And so you'll notice you may have sugar cravings around that time, or you may notice depression, anxiety, headaches, chronic pain, skin problems, weird itchiness. I noticed for me, it was my eyes and my nose would itch all the time. And, something really gross is when I started doing a parasite cleanse. I noticed my nose was itching all the time. I just didn't even want to know what was coming out of it. But if you have mucus in the body, you have parasites. Parasites live in the mucus. They love the mucus. So, what are some things that you can do to eliminate parasites in your diet? My favorite go-to tincture, which I also have on my website, is a consistency of black walnut, clove, wormwood, and thyme. Another thing that you can do is cat's claw. Cat's claw comes in, you can get it in a liquid form or in a powder form, and incorporate that if you make smoothies in the morning. That's how my dad throws his in a smoothie. I actually prefer it more in a liquid form. I can drink it like a tea. Oil of oregano, that is fantastic. And garlic as well. So if you're not a big fan of garlic, a really simple remedy that you can use is to get some raw organic honey and buy a bunch of organic garlic cloves. You want to be careful with garlic because a lot of it comes from China and it's not real. So make sure that you're getting a good quality organic garlic if you can. And just put those cloves right in the honey, and you can spoon that out. And it really does take away that potency taste of the garlic. But once you cut that garlic, it releases all of the good stuff in it. And you can gobble that right down if it's something that you want to try if you're having a hard time getting down garlic. Now, some of us, like me, I can eat garlic by the spoonfuls. I'm definitely not a vampire. So, what's another thing that you can use to get rid of parasites? Food grade hydrogen peroxide. What that does is it oxygenates the body. When we're in a state of oxygenation, those little suckers cannot live inside of us. They don't want to be there. So, they will definitely flush themselves out of the body. Now, another thing that I talked about in the parasite cleanse video is what's called the master mineral solution, or MMS, which is an oxidizer. And I had a guest on my show to discuss that, and you can check out her information as well. She goes into great detail about parasite cleansing. So, if this is something that you really want to look into, I definitely check out that episode and learn more about Lexi Eisenhower's information. She really has done a lot of research. She's used herself as a guinea pig, and she has a lot of knowledge on parasite cleansing. Now, like I said, you want to do it around the full moon. You want to start about roughly 3 days prior to the full moon with your black walnut, clove, wormwood, and thyme. Take it the day of the full moon and then 3 days after. So you're looking at roughly 7 days. Every what? When's a full moon? Every maybe 6 weeks. So that's when you're going to be taking it. You can take it in between, but really you're not doing much because they're laying dormant at that time. You really want to hit them hard when they're coming out to feed. And that's when you're going to notice a big difference and you'll get rid of them. Now, the bentonite clay and the zeolite are also going to help eliminate those pesky little buggers as well. So if you are trying to cleanse yourself of heavy metals, then you will benefit from cleansing the parasites as well. And you will notice, this is one thing I noticed when I started parasite cleansing, is my negative thoughts were really coming to the surface because they were really bringing things up that I needed to heal and I needed to clear. And so you will get to a point when you are cleansing, you're going to have to push through. They're going to almost like, for me, I felt like they were telling me to stop doing this. It's not doing anything. Cut it out. What are you doing? It was almost like they had a mind of their own and they were telling me to stop because they knew that I was eliminating them. But I pushed through, and then I noticed my thoughts got a lot more positive after that. So you can really benefit from parasite cleansing. Now, what's another thing that we can do to detox ourselves physically? Remove fluoride so we can activate our pineal gland. So, what is our pineal gland? I've done some videos on different little exercises you can do to activate your pineal gland, but it's the little pine cone shaped gland in the middle of our head, and it is a consistency of crystals, specifically magnetite. And it's like our antenna. And most of us have a calcified pineal gland because of fluoride and certain things that we have ingested over our lives. It's actually hardened that gland. And so, where do we get fluoride? We get fluoride from most of our water sources. And so we want to look for fresh spring water or reverse osmosis water if possible. And, our toothpaste as well, right? We've been programmed since the day we were born. I remember as a kid, I'd go to school and they would give me a shot of fluoride. I remember it was red and they would make me put it in my mouth and I'd see it on my teeth and they would tell me that it was good for my teeth. And I want to say fluoride is a neurotoxin. It is not good for our teeth. Okay, I'm 45 years old. I have never had a cavity in my life. I have not used fluoride since I was 25 years old. So for 20 years, I have never used fluoride toothpaste anymore. I've pretty much brushed my teeth with baking soda and bentonite clay for many, many years now and never had a cavity. And I've actually even had my dentist tell me, you have some of the best looking teeth I have ever seen. And so, that is a program that we were taught as a child to think that fluoride benefits us. And, so we want to also avoid anything with fluoride in it. So just make yourself more consciously aware of that because it is calcifying your pineal gland, which then makes it harder for you to tune into your abilities and your gifts and your intuition. Uh, we want to avoid Teflon cookware as much as possible. Try to switch to stainless or even cast iron. Teflon, when it gets heated, it can release toxins. It can be a hormone disruptor, and it just really is not safe. So, if you have a lot of nonstick pans, you might want to take a look at investing in some stainless or some cast iron. You want to get outside in the sun and get some vitamin D as much as possible. So the pineal gland loves light. Okay. So it actually releases melatonin, which is what helps us sleep. It keeps us in our circadian rhythm. And so when we are in the sunlight, it will activate it. It knows that, okay, it's time for us to be awake. And when the sun goes down, it's time for us to shut down. And that's why so many of us, I know here living in the Pacific Northwest, during the winter, it gets dark very early here, sometimes at like 3:15 in the afternoon. And it's hard because my body is just out of whack, when that happens. And so I have bought some certain light bulbs that kind of replicate the sun that helps and I keep those on to like 6 so that way at least my body is sensing. I have different happy lamps if you've ever heard of those before, but I have a happy lamp and those are things that activate our pineal gland. I don't know if any of you have heard of the concept of what's known as sun gazing, but it's basically where you will um, look at the sun 15 minutes before it rises and 15 minutes after it sets. And you're not really directly staring at it, you're just kind of looking in the general vicinity of it. But what it's really doing is it's providing you with the light. And we are light bodies, okay? So we live off of light. That's what we are. The more light we can get, the more we can expand our frequency. And so it's positive for us to be able to receive that sunlight and to receive that vitamin D. Also, increasing your vitamin C intake will help with that as well. That'll also help remove those impurities. Tamarind, if you're familiar with that, that will also help decalcify the pineal gland. It helps remove fluoride. I believe that boron does as well. Those are things that you can do. Raw cacao. I love raw cacao. I drink it every single morning. I actually, on my website under the physical well-being tab, I have a wonderful company that gets their cacao from very natural sources. It's all organic. It comes in a disc form and you will melt it down and you can do your own cacao ceremony. I actually drink it in replacement of coffee. I no longer drink coffee anymore. Coffee has a lot of mold in it, a lot of pesticides, a lot of toxins. And so I kind of went down that rabbit hole many years ago and was looking for alternatives to coffee because I love the feeling of that warm cup in my hand. I didn't really necessarily think I liked the taste of the coffee. I think it was more about the feeling and the comfort of having it. So I learned a little bit more about raw cacao. So if you're interested in learning more about that, check that out on my website. It's called Aura Cacao. They're wonderful. Like I said, boron, tamarind, iodine, fulvic acid in the form of shilajit. If you haven't heard of shilajit, it's like a black tarry substance that they get from the Himalayan mountains. And you can put that in some warm water and drink that down. It's got so many benefits to it. It helps with removing heavy metals, toxins. It actually helps with addictions. It's fantastic substance. If you've never heard of it, check it out. And far infrared saunas. If you can sweat it out, then that's even better. Especially if you're doing these cleanses, if you're doing the clay and the zeolite, or even the smoothie for that matter. Try to find yourself a sauna. I know, when I used to live in Florida, I used my car as a sauna. It was so darn hot. I would sit in the car in midday and just sit on a towel and sweat it out. But I can't do that here in the Pacific Northwest. It's too cold. I have to go find a place that actually has saunas. But, so if you live in an environment where it's hot, then try to sweat as much as possible because that'll definitely not only eliminate the toxins and the heavy metals, but it'll also help cleanse your lymphatic system as well. And so, some ways that you can also remove toxins from the body are cleansing your liver. You want to make sure that your liver is functioning properly because your liver and your kidneys are what's filtering out all of these toxins. And so, some herbs that you can take that are really helpful in cleansing your liver are dandelion root, milk thistle. Turmeric is awesome for that as well, but make sure you add a little bit of black pepper to that because it will um, process in your body. It'll absorb in your body a lot better if you add the black pepper to it. And warm lemon water and organic raw honey first thing in the morning, the first thing you drink when you wake up. What that does is it gets your digestive juices flowing. It helps alkalize your body, and the honey actually will attach to the toxins and move them out. So, those are some really easy ways that you can cleanse your liver. So if you're doing reverse osmosis water, this was something that I learned. I did not realize that it basically takes out all the minerals. You're going to want to add some trace minerals back in to your water. You can do that with a pinch of sea salt. You can do it with, you can actually buy trace minerals. But make sure that you are adding those minerals back in. Those electrolytes are very important: the magnesium, the potassium, the sodium. And you can even actually buy what's called Ormus, or you can even make it. There's a lot of YouTube channels out there that show you how to make it. But it's basically orbitally rearranged monoatomic elements. And this goes all the way back. To the Bible. Jesus called Ormus manna, and it's basically spiritual nourishment. I put a drop of it in my cat's water, and gosh, he gobbles his water right down. I put it in my reverse osmosis water, and it's got all the trace minerals in it. And what it does is it makes you a superconductor. So it activates your light body, your Merkaba, and it will expand your awareness. It'll expand your frequency, but be prepared for it. You've got to clean your vessel first. So I highly suggest if you're going to start utilizing Ormus, then you want to do a heavy metal detox, a parasite detox first, because all it's going to do is it's like pouring water in a clog, pouring water in a somewhere that has a big cloggy hairy substance in it. It's not going to go very far. You want to make sure that you clean out the clog first, and then that way the Ormus will be able to do what it does best. And that's really going to amplify everything for you. It can amplify your manifestations, it can amplify your intuitive gifts. For me, I was making it. I had a friend making it in my home, and my goodness, I felt like I was in the 12th dimension. It was insane just being around the stuff, let alone even drinking it for that matter. But it's very, very powerful. So, research it, check it out, learn a little bit about it. Also, white powder gold has superconducting abilities, and it enhances our light body. So you can look into that stuff and make sure you're getting it from a reputable company. I love think it's called Blue Emerald Alchemy. I think that's the name of them. His name is Jason, but he's got some great products out there, super awesome products. So if you're in the area of looking for Ormus, then check that out because I think you would really enjoy how it makes you feel. And some other things you just want to check and make sure that you've got clean shampoos, lotions, you aren't using toxic air fresheners or dryer sheets, laundry detergents. All of that stuff has toxins in it that can really hinder us. And you want to check your diet as well, eliminate any processed foods or alcohol, sugars, caffeine. Now, I have eliminated dairy and eggs from my diet mainly because I was recognizing the dairy was creating more mucus, which was then feeding more parasites, and it just became this terrible endless cycle. So I figured, for myself to cut out dairy, it's been very beneficial. And with that, I also cut out eggs. Eggs have, they do a lot of testing on eggs for viruses and whatnot. So our body's kind of subject to it. But, listen to your own body and let your body tell you what you should do. So now let's move into the emotional aspects of detoxing. So when you start physically detoxing, you're going to probably notice that some emotions are going to come up, specifically when you start detoxing the liver, because anger sits in the liver. And when you start clearing out all of the gunk that's in there, you're going to notice some of those emotions bubbling to the surface. And that was one thing I started to recognize first off is anytime I did a detox, I'd let my friends and family know, hey, I might be a little irritable. So you might want to keep your distance. But there's a reason why that's happening. It's because on the physical plane, you are working through releasing the toxins and the physical ailments that you may be suffering with. And what it's doing is it's naturally going to now dive into the next dimensional aspect of our emotional body. And so, if we aren't processing our emotions properly and we've been stuffing them down our entire life, then the moment we start to physically detox is when we may start to see some of these things come up. And one thing I didn't mention in the physical area of detoxing is fasting. If you are able and capable to fast, I would suggest that. You can do several different types of fasting. I like intermittent fasting, where you go for a certain amount of time without eating, and then you have a certain block of time where you can eat. I do that daily. I, stop eating after 6 p.m. at night, and then I don't eat until, say, 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. the following morning. And I've gotten really used to that. So my body doesn't even really want food. And I oftentimes can even go longer than that. But you can actually, maybe fast for 24 hours once or twice a week. You can really do what you want with that. But when you fast, what you're also doing is you're resetting your body as well. And so I wanted to mention that. I forgot to mention that in the physical aspect. But when we're moving into the emotional body, we're going to want to heal our traumas. And in order to do that, we've got to allow ourselves to feel. We've got to feel those emotions. And so, as we're kind of peeling away these layers of detoxing through the physical and then moving on through the emotional, we've got to really tune in to our body. And so, say for example, you're trying to manifest something in your life. Now, when we're manifesting things, we're using various bodies, right? We're using our physical, our emotional, our mental, our spiritual bodies. And if we don't have a clear channel there, we don't have our clear vessel, it makes it a lot harder for us to manifest and to create things. And so, a big portion of manifesting is feeling. And if we've been programmed or trained to shut off our feelings, from an early age, then that makes it really hard for us to create the lives that we desire. And that's where we may have some roadblocks, is because we could be really good visualizers, but we aren't feeling it in, right? And that's huge because you want to be able to visualize, feel, speak it into existence. There's many ways to attract those things that we desire into our life because they're all a vibration, and then that vibration turns into a thought. But if we aren't allowing ourselves to feel, then we're losing one of those major kind of areas when it comes to creating things in our lives. And so it can also hinder our relationships, it can hinder our career. There's so many reasons why us not processing our emotions can really hurt us. And not even to mention, it can get trapped in our body and it can cause all of these terrible ailments and issues that we just, who wants to suffer with that stuff? So, when we start to cleanse and heal our emotions, then we will begin to feel lighter. We will begin to feel more clarity. We will notice that our external reality will shift because we're shifting our internal reality. A huge aspect of emotional cleansing is setting healthy boundaries. And, this can be really difficult for some of us, especially us people pleasers, because we have a really hard time with setting healthy boundaries for ourselves. But, if we keep in our minds that everything that we put out is a vibration or frequency, and we are magnetizing or repelling things from us, then if we are not setting healthy boundaries, then all we're doing is magnetizing more unhealthy relationships into our lives. And so we want to make sure that we're eliminating toxic people, places, and things from our lives, and that we are doing that in a healthy way. And so we've got to be able to communicate our feelings and really share our emotions with people, but not like, I call them garbage dumpers, people that kind of come up to you and they just blubber all over you and you're like, "Oh, wow. That was intense." I'm not suggesting that. I'm just suggesting to be able to feel your emotions. I mean, I worked in grief and loss for, gosh, nearly 20 years, and I saw all varieties of the way people would grieve. I saw the varieties of way people would communicate with one another. You've got the people who were the weepers. You have the people who are very loud and active, in their grieving process. You had the people who were the stuffers. They would stuff things down. Those honestly were the ones who scared me the most because you knew that they were just ready to explode. They were creating almost like a pressure cooker inside of them. And so if that was me, I guess that was really me. I was a stuffer. I was always taught as a kid to stuff things down. Don't show your weaknesses, don't show your emotions. That shows that you're weak, or whatever. So I didn't really learn from a young age how to process my emotions. But when it comes to emotional detoxing, these are things that you're going to want to be able to do. You're going to want to be able to release those emotions in a very healthy way. Okay, so let's move into mental detoxing. So, this is going to primarily be our thoughts, and we're going to want to check our thoughts. And some ways to do that are to really just be more aware of the thoughts that are flowing in and out of our mind. And so, thoughts are just basically a vibration, right? So, it starts with a vibration and then it becomes a thought. Now, not every thought is ours, right? So, if we get in the vicinity of others, we could have other people's thoughts coming in and out of our reality. And if we're watching a program on TV, we could be having those thoughts programming our minds. So it's really beneficial for us to kind of be an observer of our thoughts, to be aware of our thoughts, and to really check our thoughts and say, hey, is that my thought? Okay, maybe not. If it is my thought and it seems negative, how can I shift this thought? Right. So, a really good way of doing that, or easy way, is to keep a thought journal. And what you're basically going to do is you're going to monitor your thoughts on any given day. So take maybe a 24-hour time frame and write down your thoughts. Negative, make a list of negative and a list of positive. Keep track of that. And at the end of the day, visualize that and say, wow, where are my thoughts? Am I 80% negative? Am I 80% positive? Where am I at in my thought process? And if I'm 80% negative, I need to make some changes. Like, because your thoughts are what are attracting what's coming into your reality. So if your thoughts are continually in a negative place and you start to ask yourself, why is crap always happening to me? Why am I never having things work out? It's a lot has to do with your thought process and your belief systems, and removing those limited beliefs that may be coming up in your reality and asking yourself, is this even my belief system? Because I call beliefs BS, right? Belief systems. We can change our belief system at any given moment. And I tell you what, mine is changing constantly. Almost with every guest I have on my show, my belief system changes. If I watch a certain program, my belief system changes. And our beliefs are what's going to also enhance our manifestations. So when you feel a very strong belief about something, you are going to attract more of that into your reality. And when you begin to shift those beliefs, or you begin to let go of some of those limiting beliefs that maybe were created at a young age, you can change your world. You can literally change your universe, your multiverse within you. And so, you know, you can do certain things like affirmations. Very, very powerful. I am, starting with I am. Now, the subconscious mind likes questions. So when you are trying to work through things in your mind, you want to ask it a question, because that actually activates the subconscious mind. So, why is it that I am dot dot dot? Or why am I so lucky that dot dot dot? How can I go about receiving this wealth in my life, or this health in my life, or, whatever you want to do, but incorporate questions. And you want to do this first thing in the morning when you wake up and right before you go to bed. Reason being is because you're in a theta brainwave state. Theta is our most impressionable brainwave state. It's usually what we're in from the time we're born to roughly age 6 or 7. It's our observatory years, and that's our programmable brainwave state. So when I'm guiding people into a quantum healing meditation, I'm getting them into a theta brainwave state. And then that's when I can get in there and really start doing some reprogramming to help them with whatever issues they may be dealing with. And so these are some things that we can do to help reprogram our mind. And, if you look back at the Bible, you'll see I am stated in there a lot, the great I am. And it's because it's a very powerful. And when we speak these things out, so when you are wanting to attract something positive into your life, you want to speak it out, because you are sending out a vibration, a frequency through sound. And so, what are some other ways that we can mentally detox? We want to remove distractions and chaos from our lives as much as possible. And so, if you're stuck on autopilot, or you're noticing that your life is just spiraling out of control, maybe you're in fight, flight, or freeze response, you want to try to detach from that as much as possible. Try to detach from that current reality and work your way towards visualizing the reality that you prefer. And you can do that through your mind. And you'll start to notice the more you physically detox, the easier this will be, because your mind won't be so cluttered. It won't be so chaotic. One of the techniques that I've shared on my show a few times that I love is called the cancel technique. It's when you have a negative thought arise in your mind, you catch it, you say cancel out loud, and then you replace it with a more positive, effective thought. And so it's really just retraining our mind, because our subconscious is working in the background, and our subconscious loves repetition. It loves images. It loves, just things that are habitual. It loves that, but we can change that. Think of ourselves like a computer program. Okay. So we can change the program, we can change the code. It's just knowing how to do that and getting ourselves into a theta state, whether it's before sleep, after we wake up, or even during a guided meditation, or just a walking meditation. These are some simple things that we can do to get us into that theta brainwave state. Oftentimes, a good time to reprogram is when we're driving, honestly, because when you're driving home, say you're driving home from work, or you're taking your kids to school, or you're doing something very habitual for you, that your subconscious is the one running the show, running the program in the background that's getting you to and from where you want to go. And if you've ever had the experience where you were driving somewhere and you forgot to take the exit, maybe you were meant to go to dinner, but you forgot to take the exit because you were so programmed to go to work that you were like, oh no, I'm not going to work. I'm going to go meet so and so for dinner. And you've had to turn around. It's because your subconscious mind has been programmed to take that route. And so you can actually map new ways. So maybe, before you even go to work, you're visualizing in your subconscious mind which route you're going to take. Maybe there's a traffic jam, or maybe there's some severe weather or something's going on, and you're already in your mind while you're getting ready. Maybe you're in the shower, drinking your coffee, having some breakfast. You're already mapping that out in your subconscious mind. So if you want to throw some things in there in your map, maybe add a stop at the grocery store, pick up a lottery ticket, or maybe stop somewhere and book a training session with your trainer to help your health, or these are things that you can visualize in your map to help improve your mental expansion, your mental capabilities. And so just removing those distractions and that chaos can be very helpful. You can do that through guided meditations. I know some people have a really difficult time meditating. I did a show on overcoming resistance to meditation. If you want to check that out, she gave a lot of really good tools and techniques on how to overcome that. But I like guided meditations. I love Michael Sealey, Jason Stevenson, the Honest Guys. Those are all on YouTube. And that's how I actually started meditating, was listening to guided meditations. It's very helpful. Some other things that you can do to help detox your thoughts, your mental capacity, is to learn things like EFT tapping and other healing modalities, maybe neuro linguistic stuff, subconscious reprogramming. There's so much information out there to learn more about our subconscious and our conscious mind, and how to eliminate those negative thought patterns, those limited belief patterns that may be running in the background. Something that will also help is to get off your phone an hour before bed, maybe even not sleep next to your phone, put your phone out into another room. It does send off a lot of electromagnetic frequencies. I actually have a Nikola Tesla purple plate behind, in between my phone and my case. A lot of people will use shungite on their phone. These are things that will help transmute the electromagnetic frequencies. But really, what it is, it's the blue light as well. So if you're watching television or looking at your phone right before bed, and you're looking at that blue light, what it's doing is it's actually activating that pineal gland to think that it's daylight. So you might want to, I know that they sell glasses to help with that. Releasing that particular light that the cell phone emits and the television emits, and you can maybe look into those. But what I like to do is about an hour before bed, I get off my phone, I put my phone out into another room, and I start to just, maybe do a guided meditation, and I start to really settle myself down for the night. That'll help with the influx of thoughts, because many people can't sleep because their thoughts are just running rampant, and that makes it difficult, right? So also setting positive intentions before bed and when you wake up. So using those affirmations, asking yourself a question before you go to bed is a way that the subconscious mind can work. So our subconscious mind does not go to sleep. It stays active all the time. It loves questions. It loves to figure things out. So if you're trying to create something in your life, maybe you're struggling with your health, then you're going to want to ask a question before you go to bed. Why am I so lucky that I am in perfect health? Um, how is it that I am so um, grateful that I'm in perfect health? And you want to do it in the now moment. Okay. So anytime you're asking those questions, if you're trying to attract maybe some money into your life, right? So, what would my life look like if I were wealthy? Okay. So these are just some questions. Ask yourself a question before you go to bed. That's going to help activate your subconscious mind, which is also going to help activate some new neural pathways. And if you do this every night before bed, and even right when you wake up, when you're in that theta state, you're going to begin to see some subtle shifts in your life. Some other things we can do is practice visualization. I know a lot of people can't visualize. For me, I had a really hard time visualizing until I started to do heavy metal cleansing. I started to eliminate some of the toxins in my body. And then I began to recognize that my visions got a lot more vivid, a lot more clear. My dreams got a lot more vivid and a lot more clear. You may notice that as you're moving through these detoxing processes. Maybe read a positive book before bed, spend some time in nature, maybe take a walk. After you get out of work, before bed, in the morning, just really stimulating your pineal gland, really activating your conscious and your subconscious mind, and getting yourself in a state of rest and digest in that parasympathetic nervous system. And maybe spending time with a pet. That's always really positive, really healing, and really helpful. And if you're having a hard time sleeping, some things that I do personally that have helped me sleep are taking some magnesium before bed. I like to take some magnesium around 7 at night, and then I'll do my heavy metal detox drink roughly around 9, and then I start to shut down, and I'm usually fast asleep by 10:30 at night. And I sleep a full 8 hours and I am dreaming the entire time. So I know that I'm getting a very restful night's sleep. Some other things you can do is maybe get an oil diffuser, put that next to your bed. I like to diffuse lavender. Sometimes cedarwood is good, sage, Palo Santo. Those are some that kind of help with sleep to get you to rest. Of course, turn off the television. Don't sleep with that on. That can be very distracting. Not only that, when you're sleeping, the television is programming your subconscious mind. So if you fall asleep, you wake up, there's some war movie on. Your subconscious mind does not know the difference between real or fake. It actually thinks that you are in war. It actually thinks that you are going through war, and your body will start to turn into the fight, flight, or freeze response. It will kick that on, which is your sympathetic nervous system. So it is important to be very aware of what you're watching on television, what you're listening to on the radio. I love to listen to solfeggio frequencies. I've talked about that on previous shows. I actually did a show about the power of sound, the healing power of sound. So if you're interested in that, check out that show. And like I said before, don't sleep next to your devices as much as you possibly can. And what are some spiritual things that we can do to detox? Like I talked about earlier, meditation is wonderful. And meditation does not have to be this grandiose sitting in a lotus position, meditating like a monk for 24 hours. No, it doesn't have to be that. Just really sitting down, focusing on your breath, and maybe giving yourself 5 minutes, 5 minutes to just really relax, feel your heartbeat, and feel your body start to move into a more calming state. And prayer is another thing. So I feel very strongly that prayer and meditation go hand in hand. When you're asking and receiving, when you're giving and receiving, it's all a cyclical cycle. And when you are doing that, you are also putting yourself into alignment. You're putting yourself into a state of harmony and balance. Setting intentions, that's something that you can definitely do to help detox. If you're struggling with something, then do a little ritual with it. Set some intentions of some things that you really want to focus on. Energy flows where our attention goes. So if you're setting your intention, you want to focus on that and you want to make sure that that is your dominant thought throughout the day. Also, going back to the mental, making sure that you check in with your thoughts. What are your dominant thoughts? Are they more negative or are they more positive? Journaling is always wonderful. I'm not a huge journaler. I'm not one that writes things down a lot, but my sister, that's her favorite thing in the world is to journal away, journal away. So, for those of you out there that like to write and like to journal, then do that. I'm more of a speaker. It's something that I enjoy doing. I like speaking things into existence versus writing them into existence. Spending time in nature is always so helpful for our mind, body, and our soul. That can also help us relieve our stress. Letting go of what no longer serves you. And that's where it comes into play with letting go of the toxic people, places, and things in our lives, and just allowing ourselves the ability to let those things go. And I love to be able to release that. So consider replacing the word forgive with the word release. So instead of saying that you're going to forgive people, you're going to say that you're going to release them. I release you from all aspects of my life. I release you from a multidimensional level. I ask you to release me, and let's move on. Let's move forward. And that really will change the way that you handle things. It'll change your energetic structure as well. So, instead of saying, how do I forgive them? Say, how do I release them? How do I let them go? And that is so powerful, more powerful than you could even know. So, letting go, forgiving, releasing people allows for more energy to come in, more positive energy. So when you let things go, you create space. And when you create space, it allows for new things to come into that space. So you can also practice different spiritual practices like Qigong, yoga, Tai Chi. I've done several shows on those types of modalities if you want to learn more about those. And one thing that's been very helpful for me is practicing the art of detachment. And I did a whole show on this because it's something that I was guided to do, and it's been very powerful for me. So detaching from the current state of reality, and I may do a show on this because there's so much information that needs to be said about the art of detachment. But when we detach from our current reality, we detach from certain people in our lives that are not benefiting our growth, or maybe latched onto us or holding us back. It makes it really difficult for us to grow and to expand into the best versions of ourselves. And so it's really just like shedding off the layers. It's kind of like a seasonal shift, like in the fall, how the leaves will fall off the trees. Oftentimes we need to do that as well. We need to kind of take a look at our lives and say, okay, what do we need to detach from that could serve us? And that could be social media. I've been on a social media detox for about 2 months now. And I tell you what, I don't even know if I want to go back on it. I'm really only on there for my business, but I've been on a personal social media detox for a couple months now, and it's felt really good. Felt really, really good. So look at the areas in your life that you think you could detach from for a little bit and give it a try. You may notice that you don't need that in your life anymore and that it feels really good. And so, like I said before, listening to certain solfeggio frequencies. So, solfeggios are different tones and tunes that align with us. Some of them align with our brainwave states, and I love 528 hertz. I actually listen to them at night. I have a small uh, speaker that I use that just kind of plays it very softly in the background, and it helps me sleep. And you can play a variety of them. Just look them up, solfeggio frequencies. Those can help raise our frequency. They can help cleanse our body, rife frequencies as well. And I talked about these on my sound healing show about the different types of healing that sound can do for us. Not only can sound heal us, but it can also create things in our reality. So it's also being very cognizant of the words that we're using, the language that we're using, because every single thing we say, we are attracting into our life because we are powerful manifestors. We are powerful co creators. And when you begin to detox these multidimensional aspects of yourself, you will begin to notice you're manifesting things a whole lot faster because your circuits are clean and things are coming in really fast and you're visualizing really fast. And what you visualize is showing up in your reality like now. And you're like, whoa, that was not happening before. But once you begin to cleanse your body, cleanse your system, cleanse your emotions, clear your thoughts, and you become super clear, super clean, super focused, you will begin to manifest. You will begin to ignite your intuitive abilities. You may notice your telepathy will get stronger. You could even tune into your telekinesis. Whatever your abilities are, you're going to notice them getting stronger once you start detoxing and cleansing all these aspects, all these multidimensional layers of our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual bodies. So I hope that this show was helpful. I know it was kind of long, but I had a lot to cover, and you might want to get a pen and paper out. I probably should have said that at the beginning of the show, but if you have to listen to it again, then feel free to do so. If you have ways that you're detoxing that maybe I didn't mention, please put them in the comments. I would love to hear what everybody else is doing out there to raise their frequency, to expand their awareness, to heal their bodies that are working for them, because these are just the things that I have done that have been super beneficial for me. And I'm just sharing them with you. But I know there's tons of other things out there that are very, very effective and very helpful that could be helpful for all of us. So please feel free to share. I would love to learn more about the ways that we are all moving through this lovely awakening and our own spiritual journey. So, as always, I send you all so much love, so much peace, harmony, and just positive, positive blessings in each and every one of your lives. I appreciate all of you so much, and thank you for tuning in. Take care. You deserve to navigate your life in alignment with health, happiness, and abundance. To learn more about the services that I provide, including Beyond Quantum Healing Hypnosis, EFT tapping, and the Emotion Code, visit my website at www.theexistentialempath.com.